Good evening, boys and ghouls. You have tuned into the Killer Countdown, brought to you by Backlot 605. Each week, two horror fanatics rank the best that the horror genre has to offer. Grab your popcorn and your kitchen knife and get ready for the Killer Countdown.
Welcome to the Killer Countdown. I am your host today for today's Ghoul Activities. I am Casey. Join with me today from last week's episode where he covered the news, and now we're throwing him into the fire, into the gates of hell. We're back with Sam Lenz.
Happy to be here, guys. How's it going?
Good, Sam. And we are joined on this episode as we rank the top 8 horror scores of all time. We are joined by two of the co-hosts of the Attack of the Killer podcast. First up, let's introduce Tad Good. Tad, how's it going?
Would it be weird if I just said good? You know, Tad Good is doing good.
I think it would only make sense if you're just doing good.
I'm doing great.
Oh no, you messed it up.
I mean, if you can make name puns. That's more than
I've heard them all, so.
10 times over, I bet.
Yeah.
And we're also joined by his co-host, Jason.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Thanks for having us. So happy to be here.
Absolutely. I'm so glad to have you guys on. You guys are the two of the co-hosts of the Attack of the Killer podcast. I will throw it off to you guys. Let's talk a little bit about your show and what you guys do. I will let one of you two decide who wants to do a little introduction for your guys' show.
I'll let Jason go because he's one of the founders of the show.
Yeah, and really you lucked out because you got the two most important people from the show. So that works out. Attack of the Killer podcast, we've been doing it for over 9 years now. We put out shows every other Friday, and we basically just pick a topic and we discuss the movies within that topic. We're just a bunch of friends hanging out, talking about movies. That's it. That's simple.
That's all it needs to be, and that's pretty. You guys like horror. That's the best thing about it.
Oh man, so much.
Best. It's the genre I think all four of us here on this Zoom call love the most. It's
100%.
Yeah, and today we're gonna put that to the test. Today we're gonna pitch you two against each other to rank the best horror scores of all time. Yeah, are you guys excited to do this topic? This was, I believe, Tad, you came up with this, or you talked with Jason about what the topic would be.
Yeah, we were trying to narrow it down and looking through what you've done and listened to some of your episodes. And I mean, you've got a lot of the big ones out of the way already. So I wanted to get something that's sort of broad, and I know that me and Jason both love. And he collects the horror scores, and I collect a lot of them too, and got the vinyls. And it's become sort of an obsession between the two of us. So I figured this would be a fun one for us to try to tackle.
And tackle is saying it lightly because this is hard. This has been super hard. I don't know how I can narrow this down to 8. This is impossible.
Yeah, because you could do other, like, you could do top 8 Italian horror films, top 8 slasher scores, top 8, and
electronic. Oh, it just doesn't. There could be 8 subgenres easily done from this, but
yeah, you guys just went straight for the jugular. You're like, we're gonna do time. Why not?
Well, especially with a genre like horror, the music is such an integral part of it. You have to have a good horror score. It's not a good horror movie.
Exactly.
Yeah, so before we get into that, we're going to jump into our recent watches. I know you guys do this on your show as well, so feel free to throw in any recent watches you guys had over there, Tad and Jason. Yeah, but Sam, did you have any? I'll let you start. You said you had one.
I have like two. I've been moving this week, so it's been kind of difficult for me to get in. But I am one episode away from finishing the first season of Creepshow. I just started the first season over because it had been so long since I started. I know it's an anthology, but I'm weird like that.
Yeah.
And I loved it. I just watched the one with the zombie arena, and that was pretty gruesome.
The Arquette one, right?
Yep.
David Arquette.
Yep,
yeah.
David Arquette. I had to double take. I didn't know it was him at first. But yeah, I'm loving it. It's great. With all anthologies, it's kind of hit or miss. But and then the other one I watched was an old Ed Wood classic I had never seen, Plan 9 from Outer Space.
Oh my.
I don't. It's widely considered one of the worst movies ever made, and I firmly disagree. It's technically, yes, technically it's not well done at all, but there's way too much enjoyment to be had in it for me to really toss it off as a bad movie. I don't know. I just loved it.
Yeah, I always sort of go by the rule that I think Joe Bob sort of says is that the biggest crime a movie can commit is not being entertaining, and that movie is extremely entertaining. So I couldn't put
100%.
it, as the worst at all. There's way worse movies I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
I've watched the Riff Tracks version of it so many times I can't watch it without hearing that in there. So it's ruined, but in a good way.
Yeah, we played at the Capitol a few years ago, and someone in the crowd knew the riff tracks or Mystery Science Theater riffs to it so well that he was reciting them out loud, and we had to ask him to stop.
Oh,
It was like
set by that guy.
it's like we're impressed and we're we all love it, but like some people here are just here to see the movie.
Right. Yeah, I loved it. It'll definitely be a rewatch for me. Highly recommended, especially if you like those cheesy B movies from like the 50s and 60s era.
And you have to see it if you've seen Ed Wood, Tim Burton's Ed Wood. They're sort
Right.
of, you mean putting them together, watching them, back to back is just awesome too.
Oh yeah, Ed Wood's definitely on my. I've seen it before, but it's on my rewatch list now because just got me in the mood for it again.
Yeah, Plan 9's a blast. Like I have Kayla, my fiance, she hates bad movies, so she won't watch them with me. So I have to sit and laugh at bad movies by myself, which is it's fun. I love Plan 9. It's a blast.
Yeah.
So that was all your recent watches
all
then?
my recent watches.
All right. I'll jump in here. I have a couple Shudder films that I checked out. One being Scare Package, which just dropped a few weeks ago.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah, it's a blast. I had a lot of fun. Horror anthology, horror comedy, definitely. The segment about the kids in the woods and the monster in
guy.
that. Oh,
yeah.
He's incredible. I loved him.
Yeah.
And then the other segment that I really dug out of that is the segment with the horror killer. And the kids are all like trying to kill him, and he keeps coming back to life, a la Jason Voorhees, and that was a lot of fun. If you're looking just for a fun, streamlined 90 minutes anthology film, this is a perfect film for that.
And the comedy part really helps it go down well.
Oh, yeah.
And it's not often that you get an anthology film that's got a wraparound within a wraparound within it. It's smart. It's really well written and pretty hilarious.
Yeah, and there is a special cameo at the end I will not spoil for people who have not seen it. That is a ton of fun.
I'm excited. It's on my watch list this week. I hope I can get to it.
Yeah, you'll dig it, Sam. The other one I checked out on Shudder is Yummy, the zombie comedy.
How was it?
Really funny. I was hooked by the trailer. The setup is everything you would expect out of a zombie movie, but what really makes it stand apart is the gore effects are incredible in this movie. They're all practical effects in this. There is a sequence with a woman who's cut in half with like her intestines coming out and chasing after them.
I think that's what they've used in like the promo material. Like when you pop up Shudder, that's the first thing you see.
And that's the best part of the movie. It's incredible. The setup is what you would expect, except this time it takes place in a plastic surgery hospital. So there's comedy to be had with that. Plenty of topless women running around with fake breasts. So take that for what you will.
Hard to get me motivated to sort of choose a zombie at this point, just because it's, like you said, predictable. But if they have some kind of unique twist on it, it's a little more incentive. But man, it takes a lot for me to click watch on one of those now.
Yeah, I tend to feel the same way. The trailer hooked me. I think that's kind of the big point for me with zombie movies. If the trailer hooks me, then I'll definitely check it out. And it's a zombie comedy. You can't go. I say you can't go wrong with that. I also checked out. Finally, I got my Vinegar Syndrome copy of Spookies.
Oh my goodness!
Oh my god, I loved Spookies. Have you heard of this movie?
I have not even heard of this.
Yeah, I believe, and you guys will probably know this more than I do, Tad and Jason. This was a film from the 80s. It's basically two versions of a movie that are put together. There's the original cut, and then I believe there's like a producer's version of this movie, and it's just smashed together, made into one just amazing film. It features like every monster. There's farting monsters in it. That is incredible. But the reason I guess everybody was freaking out is this was only available on VHS for the longest time until Vinegar Syndrome picked it up and put out this awesome Blu-ray. And I haven't yet jumped into the special features, which I hear are incredible. There's what, 2 documentaries I believe on it. So yeah, the movie is it's a perfect party movie. You have to get a bunch of friends together and just have a blast watching spookies.
You had me at Farting Monster. I will be getting my copy shortly.
Yes.
I just remember watching it when it came out back in the day, and it has, and I haven't seen it since then. So, but I don't think you can get me to watch it again because I just don't remember liking it at all. And at this point I couldn't tell you why, but it just became that film that like, no, and then so I'm sorry you wasted your money on this new DVD. Just kidding.
I loved it. I don't know.
But
don't know why, but
I probably should watch it just to.
Yeah.
if I
I've never
remembered
seen it.
wrong.
I've heard a lot about it, but never seen it.
Yeah, I think it's a lot of fun. You can obviously tell where the two movies are spliced together. There's a werewolf type character that's running around and he's like pulling the strings, except he's never interacting with the main characters. So therefore you can tell he was later inserted into the movie. It's hilarious. And then the last one I'll talk about, I watched just last night, just to throw something on. I Still Know What You Did Last Summer. I hadn't watched it probably since I was a kid on TV, and it's just as good as the first one. There's nothing wrong with it. There's nothing that I can really complain about it. I'm a sucker for these late '90s teen slasher movies, and this falls in line with that for me.
Yeah, that's kind of the same for me. I had both of them, growing up, and they're perfectly fine slashers. But I always gravitate towards a Scream or Urban Legend before I go towards those. But yeah, I'm about due for a rewatch on both of them.
Yeah, I think they pop up on cable or like Stars or something pretty frequently. So I'll be flipping through and Vice will have it on or something, and it's like I'll stop halfway through, but I can't remember the last time I've watched them, beginning to end. It would be interesting to do that just because in my mind I'm like, oh, I know the whole story. I'd probably be surprised by how much I don't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like most of those movies, there is like a whodunit factor, and this one has a pretty decent one.
Yeah.
In this, Freddie Prinze Jr. is just in the movie. He doesn't do anything. He's just there with his.
Isn't that kind of Freddie Prinze Jr.
He's just there. He's just there. Yeah, pretty much.
They got to get that face on the poster and the box art, and
Yep.
that was that era where just pick as many pretty people as you can to put into a movie and get
They
it
should
out
have put
there.
Jack Black with his dreadlocks on the cover. That would have sold copies.
Yeah, I forgot he was in that one. I remember the first one pretty vividly. It was very, very popular because it was right around Scream, and that was just the type of movie that was huge then. And I don't really remember the sequels, but I remember Jack Black with the dreads.
Yeah,
Don't
it
they
has
like take a vacation or something? They're on like a trip together.
yeah, they went a vacation to, I believe, the Bahamas is where it is.
It's
Yeah,
like a tanning bed situation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
very like Final Destination type thing in this. Yeah, it's fun. It's there's nothing that'll entice you to watch it any more than anything else, but it's also you're not going to hate yourself after watching it either. Yeah, that was the last of my recent watches. I'll throw it off to either Tad or Jason if you guys want to throw out a couple of your guys' recent watches.
I only have one I can think of that's sort of horror adjacent because I've been watching a lot of other stuff. But I've got about halfway through the second season of Jordan Peele's Twilight Zone. I enjoyed the first season. It didn't blow my socks off like I was really hoping. I mean, you put Twilight Zone and Jordan Peele together, you think you're going to have just a perfect thing, and it had a lot of flaws, but I enjoyed it. This season is about the same. It suffers from some of the same problems, but it's still very entertaining and good and easy to digest. I've been putting it on and while I'm doing work, and just some really cool twists and a lot of celebrity cameos and cool episodes. So I'm excited to check the rest of them out.
Yeah, I only ever watched I think it's the first episode of the first season, the Kumail Nanjiani episode, the
Yep.
comedian. Yeah, that's the only one I've checked out. I don't want to.
Because that one was free on
Yeah,
YouTube
yep.
for a while, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I remember watching that too and being it was good.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't great. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been able to fork over the money for CBS All Access yet, though.
What's nice about the second season as opposed to the first season they did weekly episodes, which is sort of nice if you want to contain yourself and have something to look forward to. But they decided to just drop all the second season at once because I think everybody's stuck at home and just do it. People want to binge, so
What's weird is like I feel like I prefer the method of like dropping week by week. I also feel like it's almost the smarter move for these streaming services because something like, I mean, this isn't horror, but The Mandalorian on Disney Plus, it stayed in the public conversation for a lot longer than something like Stranger Things that dropped and everybody watched in like one weekend.
Right.
I feel like it's just, I don't know. It's so interesting because there are some that are just like binge worthy that you're like, I want to get all of it down in one weekend, but then it just goes out of the public eye so quickly.
Well, it also keeps people subscribed to your service.
Mm-hmm.
If you have like how many people, if Shudder just dropped all the Last Drive-In, we would probably binge it in a week, and then people cancel the Shudder subscription till next season. Yep. So it's smart of them to do it one episode a week and keep people coming back.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a very similar case with Disney Plus when that first dropped with The Mandalorian. Like people, you had to sign up to finish the season. You couldn't sit and watch the whole thing at once.
Yep, I think and I know some people waited until the whole season was on and then got their free trial, but most people, they paid for the subscription and they, I think it's a good strategy for those streaming services. But I do like a good just like weekend binge where you can just get it all out of your system at once.
Jason, what about you? What do you have for some recent watches?
So the most recent one that knocked my socks off was this movie that's on Prime called The Vast of Night.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh, I loved this so much. It's basically this couple kids in the 50s. It's very low budget.
You had me already.
Oh man, and I don't know if you're serious or not. And and it's seriously some of the best dialogue I've ever heard. I mean, in a long freaking time. It's like so fast paced, and that's the dialogue I love. And these kids are smart, and like I said, it's super low budget, so you don't see necessarily a lot. But oh my gosh, it's incredible. The cinematography is incredible. I just freaking loved it. The Vast of Night.
Yeah, I don't know. Sam, did you watch this yet?
I have not gotten to it yet, but you and Blake were talking about it on the last episode. I cannot wait to watch this.
We were gushing over it. There's one shot, and Jason knows what shot I'm talking about, where it starts someplace and ends somewhere else.
On the other side of town.
Oh, it's incredible.
One take. Yeah.
Incredible. Like you said, the dialogue in this it feels like you're listening to like an audio drama in many cases. Good. It's fantastic.
And these kids are so fun to watch. It's awesome. I definitely recommend it.
Yeah.
And then Mike made us watch a bunch of shot on VHS garbage, so I don't even want to talk about it. So that's the main thing.
I'll say we already had to talk an hour about those, so I'm going to mention them. I
didn't want to. So that's good for me. I just the more I can spread the Vast of Night love, I will do it.
What you're saying is check out the next episode of the Attack of the Killer podcast.
Oh yeah, if you want to hear us rip on Mike and his decisions on the movies he picked for us. I mean, it's sad that the more painful for us to endure ends up being some of the better episodes because we're so dang upset that we had to watch such garbage. But that makes it fun too. So.
All right,
I think he knows it, and that's what scares me.
Awesome. I can't wait to check that out then. So you guys ready to jump into the game then? Our top 8 horror scores of all time?
I don't know. I can't do it.
I told you that me and Jason are probably the worst guests for this podcast in general because we're very agreeable with each other. We don't like to interrupt each other, and we like everything. So even if you pick something that I wouldn't necessarily agree with, I'm like, well, that's your opinion. You can be right, And I think sometimes you have to be cutthroat on this podcast. I've listened to some episodes, and you've had some cutthroat guests that don't take shit.
Well,
So
and I've been spending all day trying to predict what junk you're going to pick. And I'm just kidding. You're going to pick good ones too. So
the only one I'm gonna dispute is number one. It's like I feel like everybody has to agree on it. So I don't know.
But I already know what you're going to pick for number one, I think. So anyway, I don't know how we're going to narrow it down. But yeah, go ahead. Get this train rolling.
Let's introduce the rules here first of all. So we are making a top 8 list of the best horror scores of all times. So I believe, if I am correct on what you guys have picked, we are doing scores and not soundtracks, since there is a difference. Okay.
Correct. Absolutely different.
So I still know what you did last summer will not be on this list, unfortunately. So we are assembling a top 8 list between Tad and Jason. Players will alternate picks between movies for the list. Player 1 will have the even spots, the number 8, 6, 4, and 2. Player 2 will take the odd spots, 7, 5, and the coveted number 1. Each player also gets 1 stab in the game. Stabs can be used if a player wants the score higher, or if they just do not like the score and do not want it on the list. Keep in mind, however, that stabs do not remove the film from the game entirely, just from that spot on the list. So, are you guys ready to do this?
I think so.
Yes.
All right. I did not prepare a trivia question, so I'm going to have a number between 1 and 10 in my head, and whoever gets closest will have their choice of which spots they would want. So, all right, I got the number. Tad, you can go first.
3.
All right, Jason.
4.
The number was 8. So, Jason, would you like the odd numbers, including the number 1, or the even numbers to start off the list?
Man, I can't even get this question.
It's okay to take, number 1, as long as you got the same one as me.
Oh, I don't think I do, and that's what scares me. But yours, I'll take the evens. I'll let Ted have it.
You're too nice. See what I told you? Exactly what I told you. We're arguing over who gets to take number 1. No, you take it. No, you take it.
All right. We better see some cutthroat going on here. Someone better use
I'm sweating already. I can't take this.
All right. So, Jason, you're going to take the even numbers then?
Yep.
And Tad, you'll have the odds. So, Jason, you have the 8, 6, 4, and 2. Tad, you have 7, 5, 3, and 1. So, Jason, here comes maybe the next hardest question we have for you. What do you want to play at number 8? And I will just have you announce it whenever you have your choice.
Here's the thing. Tad's like, oh, I got it narrowed down to like 8, and then so I know I won't get them all, and I'm like, okay, yeah, I narrowed them down to about 20, and then maybe about 15, and that's where I'm at. I can't. All right, so I'm okay. Number 8. I have to take, or I'm gonna lose my horror card. I feel I have to take some Goblin. I have to take some Italian score. And this is a hard. I spent half the day today just narrowing down which Goblin score, but I'm gonna take Profondo Rosso's Deep Red. It's my favorite, even more than all the others. It has such a great. The drum beats are just incredible, and it's so upbeat and it's so off time, and I love it, love it, love it. And oh god, and I wasn't even in my top. Okay, but I picked it. That's what I'm picking. Deep Red.
All right. So at number 8, Jason has selected Deep Red. Tad, how do you feel about Deep Red here at number 8?
I like it. I had some suspicion when he was talking that he was going to have one of mine, but I have a different goblin score on my list. But there's no really bad goblin
That's
horror
true.
scores,
That's
so
true.
I think it's any pick is a right pick. So
Yeah, and I think Goblin has to be represented on this list somewhere, someplace.
I had to get it out of the way.
I'm with you. This is my favorite Goblin score. I
Good.
love the score for Deep Red.
Oh, it's so awesome.
It is fantastic. So, we're all good with Deep Red? Any other thoughts on the film?
I've never actually seen Deep Red, but I have.
Do you know the score?
listened to the
Yeah,
score.
the score is incredible.
It's Goblin. It was after I saw Suspiria about 3 years ago. I went and listened to like just about every Goblin score I could find, and yeah, Deep Red is amazing.
we're in this cool renaissance. I mean, not right now because no concerts are happening, but who would have thought in like 2019,
Oh,
Goblin, John Carpenter, Fabio Frizzi, like all these horror composers, these old geezers would be out playing horror scores live at a concert for a live audience. It just makes no sense, but the audience is there. It's fantastic. What a cool time to be alive.
Right.
All right, so number 8, then we have Goblin's Deep Red score. All right, so Tad, you have the number 7. What would you like to go with here?
Man, I will go with one that might be controversial right
Oh,
away
don't
because
screw it up.
it's
Man.
no, because it's modern
Oh,
and
If
half of mine are modern.
see,
too.
here we go.
I've got half an idea, maybe it's just wishful thinking
Yeah.
on my part.
I
But
believe-
I'm hoping something.
Well, I think this one's actually higher on my list, but I want to make sure it gets on here.
Right.
Mhm.
Just because I love it so much and I still listen to it all the time. And it's Disaster Pieces
Yes.
score for It Follows. Even
Absolutely.
people
Yes.
I know that saw this movie and did not like the movie, it's sort of a love or hate thing. I know a lot of people who saw it and said, man, that movie's overrated, but man, that score's awesome. Nobody has ever dissed the score. They love it. It's a great score. You don't even have to see the movie. Just listen to it as a record. It's awesome.
Oh yeah, I've only watched that movie once because it scared me so bad that
No
it's one of
kidding.
the only movies in my adulthood that has made me sleep with the light on.
It's terrifying, the
And
concept.
Yeah,
So-
so I just but the score is amazing. It's like I write to the score, and I love it. Not for the record, not the modern score that I was thinking maybe you were going to go with, but
Well,
if
it's
we don't get to
interesting
it.
because when they were making the movie, the director was basically begging Disaster Piece to do it because he had just done like video game scores and he was completely intimidated. Like I can't do a movie score. I'm not qualified for this. I'm not prepared. No way. And basically he's like, well, then I won't make the movie until you do this, and pressured him. And knocked out of the park for his first film score, and I guess now you're on top of that mountain. It's like, what do you go from there? You can't do better, right?
You just retire at this point.
Yeah.
Jason, how do you feel about It Follows at number 7?
I love it. It was the highest of the modern scores that I had on my list, so I had it higher. But yeah, I freaking love it. I'm so glad it's on this list. It does make my next choice hard, but no, it's great. I wished it was higher, but it belongs on the list.
I wanted it higher too, but then the more I think about it, it's like, it's only been out a couple of years, so how can you put it up higher because it's not cemented its place like some of these are 40 years old.
Some of these.
Yeah. This was a prediction of Blake's. I asked him for some of his predictions. This was the modern film he had on here. It Follows. I also predicted this. This is one of my favorite movies of the last 10 years. This score for this movie, like you said, Sam, you write to it. I feel any movie fan and anyone who writes online writes to Disaster Pieces It Follows score. It is incredible. The first time I watched this in the theaters, when you get the opening with the tracking shot, like following the girl like in the streets, and the music just I love this score.
I just rewatched it last week for a podcast, and the moment that stood out to me and raised the hair on my neck and arms again is when they're walking to the pool, the school, the pool inside, and it has the music ramps all the way up over all the audio, and it's just straight music, and it's the main theme. It's so cool. And I was reading on IMDb too that in the theaters, the mix of the score was much higher than what it is on Blu-ray or DVD. The studio mixed it lower in the audio for some reason. So I didn't notice it seeing that, and that could just be complete bullshit because anybody can post stuff on IMDb. But that's interesting that they would do that considering how popular the score was.
Yeah, no kidding. I didn't see it in theaters. I only saw it when it came out on Blu-ray. But yeah, I guess I mean, obviously, I have nothing to compare.
Yeah, I have not noticed a difference from watching it in theaters and watching it at home. But either way, it's still incredible. One of the best scores in the last, I don't know, 20 years at least. So, all right, number 7 then is the score for It Follows. Jason, we are jumping back to you with the number 6 pick.
Oh my gosh, I'm sweating. So I'm counting on Ted to bring in some of these other ones on my list here, but you realize I really only get 4 picks. I thought it was the top 8. I only get 4. So I'm counting on Ted on a couple of these, but I'm gonna throw in at least one more modern score. Oh man, it's probably okay. There's several, and it's probably not the. Maybe I'll get stabbed, I guess. But this is from a movie from 2013 that fucking affected me. It changed me. It ruined a week or 2 of my life. It scared me so deeply and profoundly that, and I mean this, and half of it's the score, and I almost can't listen to the score because then I start thinking about it. Just puts me right back into that "is my life over" feeling. But then I have to recognize the amazingness of that
The
a
build
score
up.
can do that to you. So, oh my gosh, I guess I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pick "Under the Skin," Micah Levy's from 2000. How do you pronounce it? From 2013. "Under the Skin" destroyed me as a movie. I don't know about you guys, but that's my pick.
Great movie, great score, great pick.
So Under the Skin, number 6. I have not watched this movie yet. I know this is a big movie for Blake. He would be very happy with this
It is a
choice.
cerebral
Yeah.
experience.
Tad, how do you feel about Under the Skin here at number 6?
It's interesting that we have 2 modern scores right next to each other, but that's not a bad choice. I think it's a good choice. I'm not going to stab him over it. Like I said, it would have to be pretty glaring to me for a stab, and I can't argue. This is a good one. This is really good. I don't know if I'd say it's better than It Follows, but it's really good. It's right up there. I mean, this list, these lists are so hard to put together. It could change, but by the time I end this, I can completely differently. But that's what's fun about this podcast.
Yeah, and I think that's the gamble you play when you play this game is you might play something at 7 or 8 just to get it on the list, but then here towards the middle of the list you have something else where you're like, well, that one's good, but it's not as good as the first 2 that we played. But sometimes that's just the way it goes. So you guys are so you guys are good here at number 6 with Under the Skin then.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right. Awesome. There it is. Number 6, Jason's pick of Under the Skin. So we're back to Tad here at the number 5 spot, giving us his second pick of the game.
Oh, so now we're in the top 5. This is a lot of pressure, but this is one that I think is another one where I think maybe the score is better than the movie and more memorable. Not necessarily that it has a theme song that sticks out, but overall the score is just so cool and unique. And I'm gonna say the Beyond by Fabio Frizzi. That one, and of course this is probably subjective because I saw it performed live, and it blew me away seeing his huge band do this in a little club, and that he's still out touring is so cool. But seeing it live with the movie playing at the same time, like he played it live to the movie, just made me appreciate it that much more and recognize the nuance of it, and just that it's not like sort of the rockin' goblin type thing. They use a lot of orchestral stuff along with the rock stuff. It can go from like a drum solo to a choir, back to strings, back to a guitar. It's just such a weird, unique mix that he uses. I love it.
And
You
I
gonna
think
stab me, Jason?
Can't do it.
Did you have this one anywhere on your list?
No, it didn't make my top 15.
Oh, so
But
you can stab, man.
but no, this score is brilliant. It's amazing. I love that score. I can't argue though.
Yeah, like you said, Tad, with this score, the mixture of it really fits the tone of the movie as well, because the tone is pretty much a mixture. Like you have that haunting. The opening of this movie is just haunting. It's like a dreamscape in the opening, and then you get the fun stuff in the second half, and then the score fits perfectly, which with all of those scenes.
Yeah, it's just the score sounds sort of frantic like the movie is. It can go, it ramps up so fast and then goes back to quiet and somber, back to 100%. Like it just up and down constantly, just like the movie. The score goes up and down too. So
Yeah, perfect fit. And here we are at number 5 with The Beyond. Now, this is we're at the halfway point. I'll quickly run through what we have so far while Jason thinks of his number 4.
Oh.
Number 8, Deep Red. Number 7, It Follows. Number 6, Under the Skin. Number 5, The Beyond. And we're back to Jason with the number 4 pick.
Oh my gosh, this is hard. Tad, why didn't we confer before we did this? Okay, well, one of these 3 here, I know you're gonna. One of them you have to take, or I don't know you at all. So, gosh dang it.
While you're thinking it over,
Yep.
since Tad, you have the number 1, do you have a definitive number 1 that you want to play?
absolutely, and I think everybody will probably know it. Like I don't even have to say anything.
Gosh.
I feel like it's not even a debate. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I know what he's talking about.
Yeah,
But
think
I don't know if Jason feels the same. Maybe he'll play it here at number 4 at his number 2.
It's tempting.
Yeah.
Just to see
I
what
could.
Tad.
I was say I'd just stab you right away.
Oh. All right.
That's the only. That's the only way I'm gonna stab you if you pick this guy. So
I have 2 picks left. Okay, so just to make sure I get my tops in there, I gotta go. I just listened to this score again before we recorded, and the movie is amazing and great. I like part 2 even more, but it is like some of the most chilling music ever made. It's from 1987, Christopher Young's Hellraiser. And if you haven't you just heard the score, it's fucking amazing, mind-blowing how eerie it is. That's my pitch. I love it. The Hellraiser score from part 1. Thoughts? Oh man, it's so quiet over there.
no, I love the Hellraiser score. I have not seen Hellraiser since it's probably been over 10 years, and it's just because Pinhead, the pins and needles thing, like that always freaks me out, and I can't get past it. But the score is so, yeah, it's amazing. It captures the mood of the movie perfectly. I feel like I don't actually have to watch Hellraiser because I can just listen to the score and it just transports me to it. Yeah.
yeah, having now that Joe Bob has hosted 1 and 2, it's sort of cool to go back and he I think the first one was during the very first marathon on Shudder, and then he just hosted part 2 what 2 weeks ago now.
Yep.
And it's funny because that movie's the especially the first 2, to me they're sort of sister films. They just go together. Like if I'm going to watch one, I'm going to watch part 2 also. But it's interesting because those movies are known for the imagery, so sometimes the score gets lost in the background. Like you're so attached to what's on the screen that you're not necessarily listening to the score because it's so visually striking. The gore and the unique characters, the Cenobites, and their world is just so crazy fucked up that the score sort of gets lost. But it is great. It's fantastic.
Yeah, I just recently watched Hellraiser again, and yeah, like you said, what people remember is the visuals, but even this time watching it, with the score, with the visuals, you almost feel like you're in hell. Like that's what it makes you feel. That's what the score makes you feel like. Like you're in hell and going through all the things with with these characters.
Sexy hell.
Sexy hell.
That's right.
That's right.
No
So then,
stab.
number 4 then is Hellraiser.
Oh yes.
All right, so we got that one locked in at the number 4 spot.
I'm good
Jason
now.
only has 1 pick left in this
It's
game, but
easy.
we're gonna go to Tad here with the number 3 spot. Top
Okay. This one could easily be anywhere in I feel like the top 3. This one could be, this could be the number 1 easily. So I feel like because this one sort of shaped a lot of horror scores, and it also is just such a huge part of pop culture. People who have never even seen the movie know cues from the score. And I'm going to go with a really old school classic, Bernard Herrmann's Psycho.
Fuck yes.
I feel like kids do the from the shower scene. They've never even seen it. It's just part of American culture. I mean, we're like born knowing that somehow. It's ingrained in our brains. And those stings there, the opening score, just the theme. Overall, the score is just, so many try to copy it afterwards. I remember I hosted horror trivia at a bar a few years ago, and I did a whole round of horror themes, and I played Friday the 13th, I played Reanimator, and I played Psycho, and people were like, those 3 are different. They were, because to the average person who doesn't watch a lot of horror, they first heard Friday the 13th, they wrote down, oh, Psycho. Then they heard Psycho, and they're like, wait, that is Psycho, I think. Which one is it? And Reanimator obviously is very close to it.
Very much.
Like, yeah, on the verge of copying. But, he was first, and he sort of set that. The screeching violins had not been done before that. And it's just still to this day, that shower scene, is jolting. That score is just incredible. So, and it's beautiful. It's beautiful and jarring at times. Did you have this on your list, Jason?
Damn you, because that you stole my pick. I thought I was in cruise control. That was going to be my last pick, and you stole it, you jerk. But yes, it's one of the most incredible scores ever. Every single thing Bernard Herrmann's ever done is amazing. Cape Fear, Taxi Driver, they're all, everything he's done is amazing.
Yeah, I listened to Taxi Driver probably the most out of those.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. The theme just gives me this weird feeling. It's oddly comfortable for a movie that's not comfortable.
Right.
Yeah.
But Psycho is the score. I mean, it really was. So yeah. I love it. It was my number 1.
I was gonna say, if you want to stab it, we can put it up higher up. I won't take offense, because there's we can drop it up to number 2 if you want. You can have it.
Is that how it works? Can you do that? Then you can get another one, and I don't have to pick one. Oh yeah,
that's exactly how it would work. It would take a lot of pressure off you, but who knows what Tad would play then at number 3?
I feel like I have a good pick for number 3 too. If you, I'm not trying to say you should, but I'm not asking you to stab me, but
I'll let you think it over for a second. But yeah, we had to have at least one form of this score on here, and I mean, I think Psycho's the best version of this, but Blake had thought Reanimator, which is I think that's the close second, which is great.
See, yeah. I definitely like Reanimator. To me, is like, it's one of my comfort movies, and so it's the one I revisit more than Psycho. I'm more familiar with the Reanimator score, but the Psycho one transcends genre.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not imitated just in horror. It's imitated across the board. There's no genre that hasn't at some point ripped off musical cues from that Psycho score. There just isn't.
Yeah, and like you said, it transcends every genre. Like I can't. Every version of a comedy has used the ring at some point, and of course, like we mentioned, Friday the 13th and Reanimator use the opening theme, and there's Reanimator kind of blatantly stealing it, but which is all right. It gives its own flair. But that is number 3 so far is Psycho. I'll throw it back to Jason here and see what he has decided.
No, I'll leave it. I'd rather torture myself and not risk Dad picking something crappy.
I promise. Yeah, I promise. I have good number 2 and 1. But
Well, I know you got the one locked down. No, I'll let you have it.
All right, so we're gonna lock in Psycho at number
Oh.
3.
So now the pressure's on you for number 2.
I know. Can I phone a friend? Can you all like kind of do a poll? Can I say modern or classic, and then you three help me pick?
I don't know if you're gonna throw something modern up at number 2. This could be tragic.
Oh, this one's good.
There's 2 in my head that I feel have to make this list, and I'm worried one of them will not make the list.
Me too.
I got 4 classics staring me in the face here that like it's disgusting that they're not going to be on this list. That 3 of these 4 on my short list is not going to be here.
Yeah, I've got 2 particularly that I'm thinking of right now.
I'll be honest. I'm gonna go. I'll not do the modern, even though.
Afterwards, we can
Can
discuss what we all missed. I'm sure.
Yep.
Oh, thank gosh. I'm gonna. So, oh man. Okay, so I'm just gonna do it because it's iconic. It's not the one made in the water, but maybe it's not as iconic as that one. But I didn't even know how good. I mean, I knew how good the score to this was because the movie's amazing, and it's one of the ones I go back to a lot more. So that's helping me pick it. But you don't until you listen to the whole score by itself. You're like, Jesus, that's 12 tracks of amazing score. Did I even know that was in there? Or you can listen to it and be like, I'm following the movie based on every single cue that's here because it's just interchangeable. Okay, I'm going to go with 1984 Charles Bernstein's A Nightmare on Elm Street. This score is really good, guys.
Mm-hmm.
Not because the movie's great, and everyone loves the movie, of course. It's one of the best ever, but the score is great. I'm going to get stabbed. I'm sorry.
No, you're okay. That's a good choice.
I hate seeing these ones I didn't pick, though, too. It's sad.
that's the name of the game, though.
Yes.
And see, my number 2 was something that is constantly debated on whether you consider it horror. So I guess it's hard to say put at number 2 as a definitive horror score. So I guess that's okay with me.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know what you were going for.
Well, you almost brought it up. Yeah. You were talking about it. So
okay.
All right. So then number 2, then we're going with The Nightmare on Elm Street.
So good. You said that like a question. Yes.
The
score rocks.
I'm not arguing the validity of the score.
I almost got stabbed from the host. That's great.
It's
never been done before.
The Freddy glove for this one. This score it's incredible.
Oh yeah.
Like A Nightmare on Elm Street is one of my favorite horror movies ever, and what helps with that movie is the score.
Mm-hmm.
From the opening sequence, this is it's one of the best. But even as a Nightmare fan, I'm surprised it ended up at number 2.
Yeah, same. I expected it to maybe be down in the bottom half of this list, but it's kind of cool to see it up top. The Nightmare films in general. I think that's my favorite slasher franchise, and the score is such a big part, especially that first one, that I love it.
All right, so a welcome surprise here at number 2, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Now I feel Tad has the weight of the world on his shoulders to fit 5 picks into the number 1 spot. Let's see if he can do it.
This one was stuck here. It's not budging. Yeah, John Carpenter's Halloween.
It was a done deal.
I mean, I could do a whole podcast on just this score. It's probably the most listened to score I have, as far as I've owned it on every format. Just gives me that feeling of fall. I admittedly will drive around by myself, playing this score in the fall through the park as the leaves fall. Laurie's theme. I mean, not just the main theme, but the whole score is just so perfect, and everything behind its making is incredible. He filmed the whole movie, showed it to people. They didn't get it at all. He recorded the score in like a week at home on no budget, threw it on the movie, and suddenly it was, everyone wanted to buy it. Suddenly it became this huge thing. The score is why it's so scary, and it's just, to me, it is the horror score.
And it's so funny to hear Carpenter talk about it because he is so nonchalant about the
Right.
writing of it. It's just like with everything Carpenter does, it's like, it's no big deal. Like
The most modest, grumpy old man. He's like, "Oh, I
Right.
farted on a keyboard on a Thursday night and wrote the score. It's nothing. You guys are idiots for enjoying it."
right.
He's just constantly crushing people's
Oh.
dreams. They just gush to him, and he's like, it was nothing. I did it because I didn't have any money. He tells a story about his dad teaching him the 3/4 timing on the
Yep.
bongos, and he's probably sick to death of talking about it because truly at the time he made the movie, he was just doing it to do it. And it feels like outside of almost everything outside of pretty much, it feels like the thing always sort of felt like his passion project, but everything else seemed to sort of be like, he's so nonchalant about it. Like, I just made it because that's how it was at that time, or someone gave me money to do it. It was just a job. It feels like, ironically enough, the biggest failure of his horror career, The Thing, financially anyways, now it's, considered one of the best horror movies of all time, but it was a failure at the box office. And that's the one I felt like he really felt confident in and got the budget he needed. And, that was another score that could have been on this list.
Yep.
Oh yeah,
That was on
a
my
short list.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, John Carpenter's Halloween, and even I love the part 2 is basically the same score done on synth instead of piano.
Yeah.
But the simpleness of the first one is what makes it so great. Everything about the movie, the score, it just is like a perfect combo. It's like peanut butter and jelly. It's just something. It's classic.
And I think he almost even outdid himself coming back for Halloween 18. Halloween Triumphant, the track that plays over the credits.
Right. With
it's
the
on
bow.
every playlist I make. It's literally just that track alone. He takes his classic theme and he expands upon it, and it doesn't feel cheap. It doesn't feel like he's going back to it just for the money. Like, it feels like he's genuinely he's creatively evolving this idea. And I don't know. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, when you talk about, they brought him back to do the score for the new movie, and it could have been very bad. It could have just been him being lazy and rehashing it. Yeah. And I think the advantage he also had was, he has his godson and his real son, recording with him now, bringing in some young minds who grew up around that and are very passionate, and very talented musicians help him out with that. But those Lost score albums that he's put out, those 2 Lost themes are so fucking cool, and the guy's recreated himself. He went from just sort of playing video games at home, chain smoking cigarettes, to becoming, he's back in the limelight. He's living the dream, out touring. It's just the coolest, and now everybody is copying his music work. Yeah. Every movie now has that same sort of synth feel. I love it all. Yeah. But, it's all owed back to him.
Yeah, Andy's still got time to sit at home playing video games, chain smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. And like you said, with his modesty, it's so funny, people ask him about the Lost theme stuff, and he's like, I just got an email one day and someone offered me money to make music. I'm going to do it. Those suckers are going to keep paying me, and the checks are going to keep popping up in my hand. I'm going to keep doing it. I just love his modesty sometimes. He's just, he never minces his words. He always is straightforward,
I mean, I don't want to get too off topic either, but did you guys hear that he wanted final cut of Halloween 18? I'm pretty sure he asked Blum, when Blum was like, I want you to come back, I want you to produce this, I want you to do the score. He was like, only if I get final cut. And Blum's like, no, that's not going to happen. And Carpenter walked out on the meeting.
Oh yeah.
And then he said it was a couple hours later he called him. He's like, fine, I'll do it.
That was sort of the same thing, I think, with H2O. They asked him, and he was like, I want $100 million, and I get to kill Michael Myers and shoot him in space. And they were like, no. And he's like, then I'm out. Yeah. I just love his ridiculous demands. When he talks about remakes of his movies, most directors are like, I don't really like it, whatever. When they ask him about it, he's like, it's fantastic. They call me a producer. I sit at home and I collect checks. I don't even show up, and I'm a producer. It's great. I get money for doing nothing. That's what I wanted to be a director for. He's like, I've worked my whole life to become a director so I could get paid to do nothing. I just love that his attitude, because everybody's thinking that, but no one says it like he does, you know?
Yep.
Yeah, he had to. I feel all four of us are on the same page. This is the number one. Like
Yeah.
there couldn't have been another number one on this list. Halloween. Halloween is my favorite movie score of all time. Period.
Yeah, my favorite movie of all time.
Yeah, it's mine
Yeah.
too. It's incomparable. There's no other movie like it.
And like you said with the score, every Halloween, every October, this score is everywhere. I change my phone ringtone
Oh yeah.
to this. I never have
Every
a
time.
ringtone on
And every time I'm
except
driving
this.
in the middle of the night
Yep.
and it goes off, it scares the living shit out of me.
Yeah, my wife plays piano. She played a lot when she was growing up. She's doesn't do much now, but it's like we get out the keyboard and I'm like, first thing I'm like, play Lori's theme. Like she's like, look it up online, get the sheet music, like just play it. And just hearing someone like play it in front of you is like, now I want to learn it. You know, it's just, to me, that I love that theme. Just says that's like the theme for fall in general. I just love it.
Yeah, there's been plenty of Halloween nights where I put on my Michael Myers mask and the jumpsuit and put my phone in my pocket with just the score blaring out of it and walking down the streets. It's the best. It's the best horror score of all time. Period.
Well,
Nothing else compares.
every 5 years when they celebrate an anniversary and there's a new thing that comes out, I have to buy it. I remember the probably 15th or 20th maybe anniversary, I bought the CD soundtrack and it was like remastered, and to me it was like the coolest thing, a CD, remastered, and it had all the cues in between of Dr. Loomis's big quotes and that kind of stuff. And it's so funny to look back, because now it's like we're buying triple gatefold vinyl copies of the Halloween scores, all of them, even the ones that Carpenter didn't do. They're basically the same thing, and but it's done on a different, more 80s or more whatever. And it's like they can keep recycling this. I'll just keep buying it. But that's what I did like about the new one. The 2018 felt like its own thing too.
Yeah.
It wasn't.
And then it came out with like the extended edition too.
And
I just found out about it like a month ago. I was like, how did I miss this? And yeah, immediately got online and ordered
Ted got them all.
Oh yeah, I got the vinyl where you pull out the cover and it looks like he's on fire. I have all the special, this one's ghost white, this one's splattered with blood. I have 2 or 3 different colors, and it's just ridiculous, but they get me every time.
Yep.
Yeah, I was half expecting maybe the new Halloween score would have snuck in on this list. But guys, that is the list for the top 8 horror scores of all time. I'm going to run through the list, and then we'll go back to Tad and Jason with some of their honorable mentions that they have that did not make the list. So at number 8, we had Deep Red. Number 7, It Follows. Number 6, Under the Skin. Number 5, The Beyond. Number 4, Hellraiser. Number 3, Psycho. Number 2, A Nightmare on Elm Street. And the number 1 horror score of all time, John Carpenter's Halloween. All right, so what do we got for some honorable mentions? There's a couple that I have on the top of my head that did not make the list, and we let's start off with the one that was mentioned briefly, which is Jaws.
Right, that was my number 2.
Yeah, it's on my list.
Shocked it didn't make it.
I think, but the big reason, like I said, that I didn't jump right on it, just because there is some argument that it's not a straight horror movie, but to me it is. It's terrifying. That score of John Williams, it's so unique.
John Williams is a goat, man. I mean,
right, to not have him on this list is sort of weird, but he wasn't necessarily a horror score. But if you were just doing scores in general, he'd make the probably the top 5 in general.
Yeah.
The score is amazing for sure.
Well, I mean, the Jaws score is a character in the movie. It is the shark.
Right.
I mean, like when you don't have the shark on screen, you have to make do with what you have, and that was the music, and I always thought that was so cool.
It's the music that keeps people out of the water.
Yeah,
there's no other thing like it. Like even with the Halloween theme, you're still gonna walk down the streets or go inside a suburban house, but if you hear the Jaws theme and you're near the water, you're not gonna want to step inside that. No.
You could literally be in a public pool and you could start playing that Jaws theme and people would exit the pool.
Right. To me, it's up there, just like Psycho, where the shower scene is. You hear that and it's been parodied, and people know it. People know the dun dun. Even if they've never seen Jaws, they know that theme. So
Right.
And we, both Sam and I, we just watched Jaws on the big screen, and the scene that still gets me is every time when he's underwater and the head pops out of the ship that's crashing, the sting
Yep.
that comes. I
Oh,
know it's
yeah.
coming. I've seen the movie a million times, but I still jump every single time.
Yeah, I almost spilled my popcorn. That part.
did you see it
Pretty
at a
good
drive-in?
movie.
No,
No.
it was at a local theater.
But I have watched it on a beach, which is my favorite experience of watching a movie ever. Watching me and my
Heck,
brother and my
dude.
friend being the only 3 people watching Jaws on a beach, sitting in inner tubes, was the best movie experience ever.
That sounds amazing and something that I would never be able to do.
What are some other honorable mentions that you guys had?
Go ahead, Jason.
The one I almost the last modern one that was in there in the top was Maniac by Rob, 2012. It's a freaking good score. I've really gotten into the new electronic scores lately. It's
his score for Gretel and Hansel was really good too.
very much so. And the last modern one, well, no, that's not true. The Witch by Mark Corbin, 2016. That score is incredible. And the last modern one I have on here is the Summer of '84. Lamatos. That score's good.
All really fantastic, but I'm glad that you didn't put them on the list. Like, I love those, but I don't feel like if you're doing something modern, I feel like Under the Skin and It Follows are good choices.
Yep. And then Alien by Jerry Goldsmith.
Yeah, I thought about that one too.
Jerry did a lot of good stuff. And then Ennio Morricone's The Thing.
And see that I had that one at my number 8, but that one is so touchy too because of Carpenter going back and re-recording his own stuff and not using all of Morricone, so they ended up using a lot of that in Hateful Eight, which is so weird. That the whole story behind that, but I mean, it is what they did use is so great. It's just really weird and isolating and quiet for a Carpenter movie. Is And like it sort of goes back to what I was saying about The Thing being his passion project. He's always wanted to do a Western movie. That's what got him into movies. So it makes sense that he got Ennio to do the score for, what's
perfect.
Yeah, and then it's funny, it ends up being used in Tarantino's Western. It's weird how it ends up like that, but
yeah, those are the main ones. I've been obsessing over horror scores a lot in the last few years. My collection is getting stupid. I looked at right before we started. I'm up to about like 275 scores I've got so far. It's dumb. So to narrow it down this much, I'm proud of myself. It was hard.
Tad, what about you? What were some of your honorable mentions?
Well, the two that I had on my list that haven't been mentioned yet are Riz Ortolani's Cannibal Holocaust, just because I'm not a huge fan of the movie, but the score is so memorable I don't necessarily think it's because it's good. I don't even know if it's good. Is it good? That's why I didn't list it. But it's so strange for the movie. I mean, you're watching, animals really get killed and people get speared, and it's almost upbeat, but it's so memorable. It's a very, very strange and unique score.
That it is.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. I could have got stabbed on that one, so I didn't list it. It was lower on my list for sure. It was a maybe. And the other one that I didn't list that was in my top 4, but I decided not to go for it because I didn't want 2 Goblin scores on the same list, was Suspiria. Because to me, that main theme is maybe more memorable, but maybe Deep Red overall is a better score.
I had Tenebrae as my backup.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm glad we got some Goblin on there.
Yeah, I think Goblin had to be on the list at least somewhere. I was not going to be surprised if there was 2 that I was like, I could see us ending up with 2 Goblins on here or 2 Carpenters. But we got one of each, and I think that's perfect for this. I don't know. Yes, sir.
Am I allowed to drop a hot take that you won't like?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. The score that I was thinking of, the modern score, and you might all hate me after this, is Bear McCreary's Child's Play score. the new Child's Play.
It's good. Bear's a
It's-
stud.
Say what you will about the movie. I know they did Don Mancini dirty, and I do not like the way he was treated in the making of that movie. But the movie itself, I enjoy it. I
I
ride
love
hard
it.
for it. And the score, oh my god! I walked out of that theater and I was like, where can I get this on vinyl? And the day it became available, I have it, and I've listened to it so many times. I love it. I mean, just the idea of like recording the entire thing on children's toys.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's just genius.
Very cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. But yeah, that's my.
Do you have any other ones that you thought might have made the list? I'm gonna pull up Blake's predictions here too.
No, I mean, like my big one that I wanted was Halloween and then Psycho, and both of those made it. It Follows was one of the modern ones. I kind of thought, I thought maybe Joseph Bishara's The Conjuring score might make it, just because that theme to me, and maybe it's just because like I'm a huge fan of the Conjuring series. When they used the Conjuring theme over the opening of Annabelle Comes Home, it just like gave me nostalgia, which is weird because like the Conjuring's only 7 years old, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I really like Joseph Bishara's score for that. He's the one who did that, right? Oh my gosh, I should look it up.
I'm terrible with composers' names. That's
Yeah.
why I'm glad I did not do this one. The one that I was thinking of is the Exorcist score.
Oh yeah,
Right. The Exorcist and the Omen were both up there too,
Yep.
because they both have iconic themes. But
The
I feel
themes.
right, but
Yeah.
themes. It's not a whole
Mhm.
score, so that's why I didn't get them on my list. Because I was trying to think of what I like all the way through.
Hmm.
I mean, yeah, Tubular Bells is one of the greatest things ever created ever. But the score itself is really kind of a mixtape of a lot of different people and things. And I don't know overall if it's solid, but man, I can't even say it. It's so good.
Someone who was it that did the part 2 score? Someone.
Oh
Because
yeah,
the
that
mo-
one's huge too.
Yeah, the movie's not so great, but the score is something I have to look up. So buy me some time and keep talking.
I'll go to Blake's predictions then. He had predicted Suspiria. We got Deep Red. I think he'll be all right with that. It Follows. Reanimator. We got Psycho, so that counts. Bram Stoker's Dracula and
Oh, yeah.
Candyman.
Candyman, Philip
Candyman's-
Glass. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's a good score.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then his wild card was a Friday the 13th score. Any of them, he said.
See, and I almost thought that just because of
The Harry Manfredini. Yeah, those scores are really good
yeah,
Right.
they are.
by themselves. They really are.
I listen to them quite frequently too.
Yeah, me too. It's so fun to have on in the background.
I think I like part 2 the best.
One I was hoping for, just maybe as a wild card on here, was Season of the Witch.
Yes. Oh, I know. That score's so good.
I don't know if you guys are fans of that movie. That's a contentious movie. I know that.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Which Season of the Witch or
Season of
Halloween
the-
3?
Halloween
Ver-
3
oh,
Season
yeah.
of the Witch.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry,
absolutely.
yes.
No, I wanted to make sure because there is like that Nick Cage
Yeah,
one that's
yeah.
a Season of the Witch.
No,
but
not that one.
I really debated on that too because that's probably the second most listened to Carpenter score for me. I listened to that one a lot.
and
But
even we could go on about Carpenter scores, but the Christine
Right.
score that he
Christine
did
was my second pick, probably.
yeah, can you
Yeah.
imagine? We could do top 8 John Carpenter themes, and
Right.
we'd still have to debate it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Because then you throw in all his non-horror stuff in there too.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, that's
Assault on Precinct 13, Escape from New York. All this stuff is so good.
that's a countdown in itself there. But yeah, I think we're gonna wrap this up. I'm gonna run through the top 8 list, and we'll give some plugs for the shows, and we'll be on our way here. So here we are with the official killer countdown. Top 8 horror scores of all time. Number 8 was Deep Red. Number 7, It Follows. Number 6, Under the Skin. Number 5, The Beyond. Number 4, Hellraiser. Number 3, Psycho. Number 2, A Nightmare on Elm Street. And number 1, Halloween. So I'm going to throw it off to Jason and Tad. First off, Tad, where can people find you online, and as well as Attack of the Killer podcast?
You can find me on all of the social medias at my name, TADDGOOD is Tad with 2 Ds. I use my name for everything, my first and last name. Surprisingly, no one's taken it, so I just keep taking it on all the social media. So yeah, that's where you can find me online, and Jason will plug all the places to find a podcast. But before I move on, I just wanted to mention who did the Exorcist 2 score. Ennio Morricone.
Oh yeah, that's
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
stud.
Anyways,
And you can find me the same thing, Jason Bolinger, Bolinger, all the places. And you can check out our podcast everywhere you find podcasts. But we just got this brand new website up. It's attackofthekillerpodcast.com, or you can shorten it at aotkp.com. Go there, check it out. We're running some contests. You can sign up for our mailing list and get some really cool stuff.
are we on a podcast network?
We sure are, Ted. We are on the podcast network called the Prescribed Films Podcast Network, the PFPN. There's like 22 different shows on there, all sorts of stuff from movies to everything, music, and it's a pretty fun place. And you can just go to thepfpn.com to check out all those shows.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for doing this. This was a blast. I'm so glad you guys took on the insurmountable task of narrowing this list down to 8.
Painful.
You did it.
We made it out the other side, so that's good.
Well, thank you for having us. This is
Yes,
blast.
thanks so much.
Absolutely. We will absolutely have you guys back on at another point. Maybe not, put you guys head to head and have you stress over horror scores again, but just to talk horror movies, I think that seems all right.
Sounds great.
Yeah, we'll have to have you on too, because
Yep.
we'll have to force you to watch some bad shit that Mike
Watch
thinks.
watch some straight to VHS stuff.
Yeah.
Sam, what about you? Got anything you want to plug?
I mean, you can follow me on Letterboxd. I'm just Sam Lenz, SAMLENZ. Otherwise, I mean, you can follow me on Instagram. Just search my name. I'll be the one with a bunch of gory horror art. So
Nice.
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram, Casey Kelderman. That's where I put all my movie stuff. That's where that's at. But you can find this podcast on Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Google, and YouTube. And you can find us on backlot605.com for all our latest movie news, reviews, articles, discussions, and the Killer Countdown. It's all available on backlot605.com. And follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, simply at backlot605.com. Again, thank you again to Tad and Jason. This is a blast, and we're gonna get out of here and go listen to some horror scores.
Heck yeah.
All right, awesome. Thank you guys again, and we'll see you next time on the Killer Countdown.